everyone, how's it going? I hope you're having a wonderful day. Marvel Spider-Man 2 developers say Miles Morales is the main Spider-Man from now on. Now, if you've been playing the games, this was expected. Marvel Spider-Man 1, Miles Morales the game, and then Marvel Spider-Man 2. Now, this video will contain spoilers, even light spoilers, so if you don't want to hear any of that, please exit the video right now. This is your only warning. So, we learned at the end of Marvel Spider-Man 2 that Peter is taking a backseat of being Spider-Man. The reason being that after his battle with Mary Jane, after she got infected with the symbiote and became Scream, she made it very much apparent that she feels like she is tertiary in their relationship, that Peter puts not only Spider-Man but himself first beyond her well-being and her emotional stability. Like, she has to help him with the finances, he can't keep a job, she constantly has to take jobs from things that she doesn't believe in. She just feels like she is not important to Peter and she's just there to serve as like a sidekick role, and she just starts to become more anger starts to sprout up because of that. They already broke up once because Peter treated her like a little kid, didn't let her make her own decisions, and now with this manifesting, she was slowly starting to hate him. She still loved him, that's why she took on all this responsibility, but she always felt like she was not primary in their relationship. She treated Peter like he was most important to her, but she just didn't feel like it was reciprocal. So at the end of Marvel Spider-Man 2, Peter basically tells Miles, hey, I gotta put this first, not only Mary Jane, but my own life. Can you take on as being Spider-Man? Which I feel like is going to blow up in his face. Because, first off, at the end of Act 3, Miles shows up with this costume, which just is a giant product placement for Adidas, which is kind of shameful to Miles Morales as a character, because the game Miles Morales was about him coming to terms of who he is as a person, as being his own Spider-Man. And then in Act 3 he goes off on his own for a large portion of Act 3, despite the fact, like, there is a literal alien invasion, and he's like, oh, it's time for a Miles Morales original. And I'm like, dude, you were spending time making this new crappy costume while Peter was battling aliens and trying to save people from being absorbed. It was just like, it was so stupid. And it didn't even help that the fact that Miles kind of took a huge backseat in Marvel Spider-Man 2, how he wasn't even shown within the game's main core narrative until like Act 3, and at the end of Act 2 where he finally is brought back. And the side missions also were just terrible. He was like doing busy work, like saving a mascot and like helping a fellow student with their drone project, where Peter was fighting literal cultists, fighting an alien, trying to figure out the safest friend, Harry. I know I went on a bit of a tangent rather than reading the article, but you can see why people probably aren't too happy about this, because it also kind of infers that Peter's end is coming, in a way. The developers of the hit Spider-Man 5 exclusive Marvel Spider-Man 2 have said Miles Morales is the new main Spider-Man from now on, which has caused some fans to speculate what Insomniac may do with the inevitable Spider-Man 3. Gizmodo asks Insomniac's narrative director Ben Hoffman and advanced writer Brittany Morris about the ending of Spider-Man 2, which is a clear passing of the torch from Peter Parker to Miles. Here's how the conversation goes in game. Peter, I got this, all of it. Go be Peter Parker for a while. Are you sure? It's a big city. I can handle it as long as I can still call you for advice. You don't need it. Yeah, that's basically it. Like, he's got to, like, he has Mary Jane right now. He wants to start a family. It's also indicated within one of the side missions that he's planning to ask Mary Jane to marry him, which is kind of the next step. They already moved in together. They're settling into their new lives. He's trying to carry on the project that was destroyed in the core game with Harry and him, honoring Harry's mother and Aunt May and stuff like that. In an interview, Gizmodo asked Hoffman and Morris, you said earlier you basically knew right away that you wanted a playable Venom. Does that apply to this ending, which Miles as the main Spider-Man from now on? Morris replied, always felt very natural, and it would be very collectively thought it would happen. To me, it shows a great deal of evolution from Miles. At the beginning of the game, we see him struggling to figure out what he wants to do in life. I mean, this right here I kind of have problems with, is because, again, the Miles Morales game was about him trying to figure out who he wanted, who he was in life. And then this game comes along and it just rehashes all of that again. By the end, we had Miles carrying the burden of saving the city. Actually, no, he didn't. It was actually, well, I mean, he did fight Venom, but Peter and Miles fought Venom together to defeat him. Like, yeah, Peter fought part 1, then Miles fought part 2, and then in part 3, they came together and defeated Venom by using their combined strength. And as I stated, he wasn't there during the initial invasion. Like, yeah, he was there at part 1 of the invasion, but during the part 2, where everyone was being infected and assimilated into the hive mind, Peter was doing that by himself, while Miles was, like, creating his costume. And also carrying Pete, and when Pete wasn't strong enough to carry himself at various points. That's actually true. When the symbiote almost took control of him, like, Miles saved him and reminded him who he was before the symbiote could completely bond with him. That's what being so cool about writing a story of two Spider-Man. They're both strong, and one of them can be strong while the other is not. By the end, Miles is confident. He's like, yeah, I got this. How much worse can things get when after what we just went through? Spider-Man fans are now speculating about what Miles being the main Spider-Man for the future titles. There's a lot of talk about Miles' spin-off, Miles Morales. Insomniac has already spoken about the potential Venom spin-off. We know the developers Wolverine is set in the same universe as its Spider-Man game. And, of course, there will be Spider-Man 3. Yeah, they said they wouldn't be opposed to making a Venom standalone game, but it's kind of hard to do that considering how Marvel Spider-Man 2 ended. I won't spoil that, but if you played it, even though his kind remains within the game, other things don't. So you see what goes on. There are two things that you kind of need Venom for that's not there. As IGN Jesse Schreiber wrote, we assume the ending is staged for a direct sequel to Spider-Man Miles Morales, with Peter's retirement providing justification for why Miles is the only hero in the spotlight. This is where I have a problem with, because Miles is 17 years old and Peter's 25 years old. Not to mention that Miles is going through a very huge transition in his life. He's going to college. And if you've been to college, you know that it's a very huge commitment. How is he going to be Spider-Man and go to college? Not to mention, and this is something the Marvel Spider-Man 2 game kind of solved, but did it in a very stupid way, there's no way for me to put it, is the fact that everyone already knows who Miles is. Like, every major person in his life knows that he's Spider-Man. So his mom knows, his girlfriend knows, his best friend knows. It's like everyone knows he's Spider-Man and they always cover for him, but at the same time, like, that was one of my major issues, is the fact that everyone knows who Spider-Man is, Peter and Miles, so there's no conflict. Yeah, there was conflict with Mary Jane, but at its core, there's no idea of, like, hey, where's Peter? Where is he going? What's happening? Why are you gone for extended periods of time? Like, same thing for Miles. And not to mention, they always take off their mask. Like, it makes no sense. And on top of it, it's like, with this type of costume, anyone with, like, common sense would be able to figure out, that's you, Miles. You're the only one in this entire city with that type of hair, and we can recognize your voice. So, yeah. The most shocking theory is Insomniac plans to kill off Peter Parker in Spider-Man 3, which would be a significant step forward than simply having Peter retire from being Spider-Man. That would not go over well. That would be a terrible idea. Like, I get it, in the original Miles Morales narrative, Peter does die. So he takes over as Spider-Man as necessity. Like, similar to how if Batman dies, new Batman, someone else claims the title of Batman. Or when Joker, you know, new titles. Spider-Man isn't a person, it's a title. But at the same time, this would not go over well. Like, if you forcibly kill Peter Parker to make room for Miles Morales, it's not going to go over well. And it's especially going to be seen as just, like, forced, instead of naturally allowing it to evolve. Like, if Peter decides, like, hey, I'll still be there for you if you ever need me as Spider-Man, but you're going to be the main hero, and he has to focus on his own life, and then he tells Miles, like, hey, one day you're going to end up like me, in the sense that you're going to have to decide what's more important, Spider-Man or the people you love. And for Peter, he chose Mary Jane in this, in the end of Marvel Spider-Man 2, he chose Mary Jane. And maybe Miles might have to go through something like that as well. Which is more important, Miles Morales or Spider-Man? Which would be really cool. That would be a great idea to exercise. It's but I doubt that's how it's going to go down, because one of my biggest issues with Miles Morales is the fact that he kept enabling his friend, the Tinkerer, of how she went through her process of giving weapons to very dangerous people who was directly responsible for the deaths of a lot of innocent people, and no one seemed to call her out on that. And Miles never had that moment like Peter did with Dr. Otto Octavius. Like, he still thinks that the Tinkerer was a good person. I can't remember her name, but he still thinks that she was a good person. I was just like, she killed people. Like, Miles, why are you not getting that through your head? Spider-Man is supposed to protect innocent people, not protect the people they care about and give them special treatment. Like, your friend killed people. Like, there's no, like, sugarcoat in that. So, yeah. So, they're gonna kill off Peter Parker. And, yeah, you can see that people are not gonna be happy about this. I mean, currently, right now, the reception between Spider-Man 2 is becoming increasingly more divided as more people dive into the story and pick out very valid criticisms toward the narrative, like the way how Mary Jane treats Peter. Yeah, Peter was very neglectful towards Mary Jane, but at the same time, like during the symbiote scene where the symbiote takes full control of Peter to protect him from Craven's people, like, she still wrote that terrible article about Peter despite the fact that she knew it wasn't him. In fact, Peter saves her life. He takes control for only a small amount of time to save Mary Jane, to tell her to run. And then she of course had her overpowered BS stun gun to stun Spider-Man despite him carrying what would be equivalent to a world-ending weapon in his body. But yeah, honestly, look, I like Miles, but they really have to do him better justice than the way they've been trying to convey him in this game. Like, again, he's literally now a walk-in product placement, which kind of goes against, like, in one of the Mysterio missions, he literally says Spider-Man does not do endorsements. So, they kind of have to refine him because, you know, when you're supposed to be the prime Spider-Man and your costume is basically just a giant product placement, you're not exactly going off on the best route. You're not taking the best leap right now. But tell me, what do you think? How do you think Marvel Spider-Man 3 will transpire? Do you think they would actually kill off Peter Parker and, you know, make Miles, like, mandatory Spider-Man? Or do you think something else might transpire? I'd love to hear other people's opinion on this. Again, I'm open to this. I try to keep an open mind to this. I like Miles. I just really think they did him dirty in Marvel Spider-Man 2. But let me know what you think. Till next time, thanks for watching. Bye.